that's insane.
Yeah, that's
like,
fucking crazy.
you know, you don't realize what interest rate does to the car loan.
So actually, let's go over that, right? That's crazy though. Most people, when they're doing their math on if they can afford a car, they never end. Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the Wheels in Business Podcast. My name is Ruben. This is my brother Luis. We're currently sat in a Porsche GT4, and today we're discussing the game-changing financial lessons that cars have taught us. Now, to kind of just get more into this, right, we're going to kind of split this up in a couple things. We're going to split up into interest on a car, negative equity on a car, and then just being able to afford a car in general, and like just things that come along with that. Starting with interest, dude. Do you remember the interest on your first brand new car?
Yeah. So surprisingly, the interest on my first car was the best interest I've ever gotten before.
Yeah.
It was on a 2015 Scion FRS. This was like 7 years ago. So this is when like interest rates were at the best things we've ever seen them.
This is pre-COVID, pre all that.
Yeah. And so I got an interest rate of 0.9%.
Which is insane.
Which is insane.
You couldn't dream that today.
On a car loan.
Yeah.
That's basically free money.
It really is.
So the loan was for like $27,000 or something like that, give or take, after like everything in.
Yeah.
I think I got charged like $1,000 or something like that on interest, and maybe I'm talking out of my ass there, but I remember seeing the amount of interest I was getting charged, and even my dad called it out. He's like, damn, that's nothing.
Yeah. Again, in comparison to like the term of the length of the loan.
Yeah.
And then
like,
how much you're borrowing.
Yeah. But to be fair, right, at the time, I wasn't using my credit. I was a kid. I was 22, so I didn't have any credit. It was under my dad's credit. My dad had perfect credit.
Yeah.
So 0.9% interest, which was amazing.
What is your worst interest rate?
Surprisingly, the worst interest rate is the one on the Porsche because of when I got it.
Yeah.
So this is like that at the peak of like, you know, kind of things being bad and whatnot with like the used car market.
Yeah.
But I think I got a surprisingly pretty good deal on the car itself. It's the loan. I have 9% interest rate.
Damn, I just realized you have as much as me on my C63, and I thought that was bad.
Yeah. I don't know how the interest rates work though, depending on the size of a loan, like if that matters. I mean, because I have good credit. I have like a 750 credit score with like a ton of different types of loans through my credit and like good history. And
no,
like,
did you got, it was almost an 800 when they actually printed it out.
Yeah. Well, depending on, because they give you
they give you like 3 euros, but I remember it being, I think, 780.
Yeah.
So yeah, like considering he had that good of a credit score to only qualify for a 9% is insane.
And they, if you don't know if you remember, they did something like, this is as good as it's gonna get.
Yeah.
With the way interest rates are right now.
Yeah. So I gotta share some of mine, right? I'm gonna share two. Right, one of them was pretty embarrassing. I was a kid, and I ended up signing for a 2017 Honda Civic. And keep in mind, I did not know any better. So, I mean, obviously, like in hindsight, it was a massive mistake, but I didn't know any better at the time, and I ended up getting a Honda Civic, 15.9%.
Damn.
15.9%.
That's like that's those scary stories you see of like car dealerships. They're like, yeah, this fucking idiot got a 15% interest.
Dude, it's fucking mind-boggling. But it's like I had no credit, but like no credit is good credit. Or like, you don't get maybe the lowest, but you definitely get something that's just decent. And it's funny because now I watch TikTok videos on this like salesmen talking about that, where they're like, oh, I'm about to take a vacation off this kid right here.
Well, that's the other part too, right? It's like they make money off the interest, and so typically they can give you a lower interest rate, but then you're kind of eating to some of their profits.
Yeah. So it's in their best interest to give you a higher interest rate.
When you got this interest rate, what did you think immediately? Because it was your first car loan.
Yeah, I mean, in my head, I was just kind of like, you kind of refinance in a year. I think that's what he sold me on, actually, was just refinance in a year. You'll be good.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, and again, I mean, you don't know what you don't know. And at that age, I definitely didn't know how car loans work. And I didn't know what a quote-unquote good car interest was.
Oh, God. So you didn't realize 15% was terrible.
I mean, I realized it wasn't great, but I didn't realize it was as terrible as it was.
Yeah.
Dude, that shit was fucking awful.
I think I remember you telling, I think my dad's the one who told me. Because he told my dad, not me.
Yeah.
And I think my dad told me, he's like, yeah, he's getting an interest rate of 15%. And I'm like, what the hell? I knew at that point, I remember I heard that, I was like, that's insane.
Yeah, that's
like,
fucking crazy.
You know, you don't realize what interest rate does to the car loan.
So actually, let's go over that, right? I actually put a couple of different interest rates into an interest loan calculator in order to kind of explain to you guys the difference in what interest rate does. This is off of a $50,000 car loan. I'm going to go Low right now would be considered 3%, but I don't even think that's possible.
Yeah,
Even today's interest rates.
Yeah.
I think the lowest a perfect credit score is getting is like 6-7%.
Yeah.
But back in the day, 3% was very possible.
Yeah.
Right? But on a $50,000 car loan, 60 months, 3%, $5,000 down, and this is in the state of California. Our tax is a little bit higher, which is 7%, and then an extra $2,000 in registration fees and such.
Yeah.
Which is very realistic, right? I've taken out plenty of cars at this point. I kind of understand all that.
Yeah.
Your car payment is $808 a month.
$800 with the 3% interest.
Yeah, with a 3% interest. Now we're gonna take that same exact. Everything's gonna be identical except the interest rate, right? Let's take it to a 7%. What do you think the difference is from 808?
900?
Yeah, 891. So
Yeah,
about
okay.
that, about
Yeah,
$100 more.
So $100 difference a month.
Over a 60-month term, which is $6,000.
Yeah.
Well, it's slightly less because it's not exactly 100, but yeah, it's about $6,000 the difference.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sound like a huge jump.
Well, it doesn't sound because and this is the problem with car loans in general, right? It's like you look at the monthly payment, $100 a month off of that interest doesn't sound like terrible, but like when you span it out, like, okay, well, the loan is 60 months.
Yeah.
$6,000.
It accumulates. Let's go to the next one, right? 10%. 10%, how much do you think it goes up?
So what, maybe another $80? So like
Something.
maybe like 950, 960?
956. So 956, now you are paying an extra 150 times 6, around 7,500 extra over a 5-year term. All right, let's go to the last one. This is basically what happened to me. At 15%. Keep in mind, the Honda was not $50,000. I think it was like half of that. It was like 22, 23.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it'd basically be this just split in half. But at 15%, your $808 car payment would turn into $1,070, which is an extra $260 across a 60-month term, which would be 260 times 60, an extra 15.6 thousand in the span of 5 years. That's another car.
Yeah.
It's like dead ass another car. I can't ever make fun of someone or like even like mock someone for like doing that because I did it. It's like I made that dumbass mistake.
Yeah.
But it's like, dude, like people really just jump into these loans not thinking that they're paying that much extra in a 6-year span.
Yeah.
Now, there's cause and effect to absolutely everything you do. The cause is you fucking went to fucking go take out a loan at a 50% APR or even a 10%. And the effect is now most people are stuck in a negative equity position.
Yeah. But like the tricky part though too is like, there are some scenarios where it's your fault and it's not your fault. Sometimes it's like, if you're young, you're young. You literally can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Right? It's like, that's one of those things you're like, no, I'm good. Unless you get a co-signer with like your parent or anything like that, you know, which if you're able to, great.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Because if you're that young that you don't have the credit, you probably also don't have the money to just shit and be like, yeah, I'm just gonna pay an extra $15,000 for this car.
Yeah, exactly.
So like it sucks in those scenarios, but in the scenarios where like maybe you've had some like financial irresponsible scenarios and you hurt your credit score, man, that sucks.
Yeah,
especially when it's like one of those scenarios that might have been fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Like if you accidentally, like I've had this happen nearly sometimes, where like my auto pay didn't go through because I changed my card number.
Oh yeah.
Right? And like
You got a late car payment or some shit like that.
well, no, I think it was my electricity bill.
Shit.
I was late and I never got a notice. It never notified me or anything. And it's not like my power went out or anything.
Yeah.
And I was late like 45 or 60 days. And typically when you're late more than 30 days is when they report to the credit bureaus. But I don't know if utilities works the same way as like every other loan.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they report to the credit bureaus, you know, in that same time span. But I remember when I finally got the notice, because the electricity went out. That's how I found out. They finally cut it off.
Yeah.
And I called and they were like, oh yeah, you're past due. I'm like, past due? But it's like the electricity bill is like $50 a month. So like, you know, I don't necessarily like notice it all the time. And it was because I had my debit card. Typically now I put my account numbers.
Yeah, that way
certain
it forces
bills.
it, yeah.
Yeah, that way I never have to worry about like whether my card got replaced or something like that.
Yeah.
Certain bills I just have my account number. And then I remember I freaked out because I was like, oh God. I was like, did this hit my credit? And they told me no, it doesn't because of whatever reason, whatever, and it never hit my credit. But I remember my heart dropped because like this is at the point where I was barely starting to recover my credit. When I was young and I was just dumb and didn't do, you know,
Your due diligence.
do too well with it. Yeah. But like that's one of those things where like man, having good credit in America is very expensive.
Sometimes more valuable than money.
For real.
Like literally, yeah. Well, I would say on the lower spectrum, right? Sometimes having great credit is more valuable than money.
Yeah.
But right, kind of moving on to this negative equity thing, right? Let's kind of go over what happened in these past couple years. Actually, I feel like this is a good way to explain it, right? The current like repo rate and like people who are like upside down in their cars is fucking insane in comparison to like, you know, past years. Right, and it's all because we had this influx of used cars going for way over what they're worth.
Yeah.
Right, because we didn't have enough used cars in the COVID era because there was no new cars coming out.
Yeah.
People needed cars, and people would buy used cars for over what they were worth. And sometimes it was like 10, 15K over what they were worth. So,
and then on top of that, there's that period where like interest rates were terrible.
No, yeah, literally.
So like not only are you overpaying for a car on what it's not worth, you are also just getting naturally higher interest rates, whether you have good credit or not.
Yeah, and like again, kind of we just shared with you guys, 3 to 8% makes a massive difference.
Yeah, and even to make it even worse, the way loans work in general, you pay when you start paying your monthly payments. The first year and a half of a 5-6 year loan, you're paying a lot more towards the interest than you are towards the actual principal of the loan. So I don't know how why it was set up there. I mean, it makes sense why, but basically the bank wants to collect money on the interest
as quick as possible,
way before they let you even pay off the car.
Yeah.
So like that additional interest, those extra $15,000 and that higher interest, you're paying that at the beginning. So if you decide at the 2-year mark, I want to get rid of the car,
you're so deep in the hole.
I've been making payments for 2 years. You realize, no, you haven't.
Yeah.
You've been making 2 years worth of payments where majority of the payment has been going towards just interest.
Yep.
It's mind-boggling when you look at the breakdown of how a bank charges you on a car loan and how the beginning payments, you know, it's like, oh, this is towards the principal, this is towards the interest, and how that ends up like tapering down.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and you take that to like the scale of a home loan, it's even worse.
Yeah.
It's like crazy to see that math breaking out.
But right, to kind of explain that a little bit, on like current day, right, most people, they will walk into a dealership, put maybe zero down with their good credit. And if you put 0 down on a car and you actually keep a car for its full term or full loan term, you're okay, right? Because you end up paying the car off anyway. And then at the end of the car term, you know, you own the car. The problem is that most people do not like keeping their cars for the 5-6 years that they finance for, right? Most people get a 60 to 72 month term. Almost nobody gets 4 years to 48 months.
Yeah.
You know, that being said, in 2 years, if you put, you know, 0 to 5K down, or fuck, the worst case scenario is 0. If you put 0 down, you're probably like, most people are negative 20, 30,000 on their car.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is like, their fucking car isn't even worth the negative. Like, that's the most mind-boggling part. That's where like what happened in these last few years is like fucking like just mind-bogglingly like crazy, is that people were buying a 15K car for 25K, and then on top of the 25K, they had a 10% interest rate. So they were paying, in reality, $60,000 over a 5-year term on a $15,000 car.
Yeah.
Like that's...
And then the way America works, they go to a dealership and they're like, damn, I want a new car. That dealer will take the negative equity, put it onto a new loan, and let you get a new car.
Yep. Like, dude, it's crazy. To kind of give you guys a little bit of personal experience, right? Within these last 2 years, I've been a huge advocate, right? My brother is always taking out cars with like minimal down, right? Which I think the only car that made sense was with this car, because this car holds its value so well.
Yeah.
But like with every other past Mercedes that he bought, they were brand new Mercedes, which again, Mercedes are fucking notoriously known for depreciating like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And at the 2-year mark with both cars, you're like, damn, I'm still upside down. I'm still upside down. Like I would have to pay money out of pocket in order to get rid of this car. And it's like, that's what most people do.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like, you know, kind of the smarter, quote unquote, smarter approach. And I decided to put a big down payment on every single car that I got, or buy it cash. Right, with the C63 in specific, right, the car was $75,000. I put 20 grand down on the car. And here's the fucking crazy part: me and you took out our cars in a very similar time frame.
Yeah.
I'm still barely positive on my car, like equity.
And how much did you put down?
I put 20K down. I paid the car for a year, which my interest rate is 9%. right? Which, considering my credit, it's better. It's a lot better than it was. I just made a lot of mistakes when I was younger. It was a pretty decent rate for my credit.
Yeah.
And in a year span, right, making a year's worth of $1,300 car payments, and I didn't do 72 months, I did 60 months. In a year span, I think my car is worth $55K, and I currently owe, I think, 49. And that's with 1,300 times 12, which is like 15 grand, plus the 20 grand I put down on the car. Like, isn't that just mind-boggling?
It's crazy because if we were both to get rid of our cars, I'd be way up than you right now.
A different point of view, right? When you had the CLA 250 and I had the Subaru WRX.
Oh, yeah.
Right, my brother had bought a 2018 CLA 250, right? Fully spec'd out. I think the sticker was $44,000. $44,000. I bought a complete base model Subaru WRX, $27,000. Right, that is a $17,000 difference, more or less. He ended up getting the car totaled, and I ended up getting it. Damn, we both got it totaled. I just realized that.
Yeah.
Both cars got totaled like 2.5 years in.
Mm-hmm.
His car got appraised at, I think it was 21 or 22,000, right? Where Gap Insurance had to come in and pay the remaining, I think it was like 6,000.
7,000.
Yeah. Gap Insurance had to come in and pay the extra 6,000-7,000. While I owned it for 2.5 years, I think I owed like 18,000, and my car got appraised at 25,000.
Yeah, so you got paid out.
I got paid out like $6,000-7,000 because they took out my deductible off of there too.
Yeah,
but
you know the crazy the joke's on you part right here.
What?
I've never actually taken the negative hit on equity on any of my cars.
Yeah, but I mean, you got lucky with that one though.
For sure.
I don't think anyone hopes to get into a car accident to fucking get rid of their car.
Yeah, but like the FRS got totaled. I didn't take negative equity there. The CLA 250 got totaled. Didn't take any negative equity.
The CLA 45
you took.
Yeah.
Right. This one, I checked my balance not too long ago. So this one MSRP was 130,000.
Yeah.
I think I'm like at 117,000, give or take, on this. And I could sell the car easily for over 120.
I mean, the moral of this story is just, I think most people take out cars without really thinking about the long term. And that's why within this last year or two, like the repo rate has gone up so much.
Yeah.
It's like people think they can afford it, but until they can't.
Yeah.
And suddenly they can't afford it, and it's like, dude, you're stuck with this loan for another 4 years.
Yep.
Or let the repo man take it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about affording a car. Now, generally, I believe that the car payment is the easiest thing to pay on a car.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the hard part. I think most people...
It's easy because you know what you're going to get every month.
Yeah, you know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about affording a car, right? There's 4 facets to affording a car. There's the payment, which I think most people know. There's the insurance, which I think less people start taking a look at.
Especially early on.
Yeah, especially early on. I think less people, they don't focus on how much insurance is. Especially if you're young on sports cars, dude, insurance can be a pretty penny. There's maintenance, which again, I don't think most people think about, especially if you don't have warranty.
Yeah.
If it's a brand new car, you're covered with the warranty, but if you don't have warranty, down maintenance can be heavy.
Yep.
And then the last one applies to people who actually drive their cars, which is gas.
Yeah.
These last 4 years, gas have been insane.
Yep.
It's crazy. I just did like a checkup on all my cars, right? I currently have 3 cars. I have a Tacoma, I have a GLC 63, and I have a C63. Collectively on all 3, in the last year, I put over, I think it was 60,000 miles.
Jesus.
It was 30,000 on the Tacoma. It's 10,000 on the GLC 63, and then 15,000 on it's like 18,000. It's right under the 20,000 mark for the C63. So that's 20, 30, 10, 60,000 miles.
That's crazy.
And then just curiosity, right? I think curiosity killed the cat. But curiosity, I just divided the miles by my average MPG, which I went super conservative and put 18. I highly doubt I'm getting 18 across any of those cars.
Yeah.
And then I divided it by 4, which more or less is the average gallon that you're paying nowadays. It's actually higher, but again, just being conservative. And it was something around the realm of like 15 grand.
Jesus.
On gas.
So break it down to a month. How much would you say you spend on a month?
1,000%. I'm spending anywhere from $700 to $1,000 a month on gas. And that's considering that I drive over here at least twice.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, just driving to Cali, right? It's usually a full tank both ways. That's $80 to $100.
Yep.
We mentioned this right before we started the podcast. He was like, dude, I'm already at half a tank, and all I've done is drive to the car wash and then film yesterday our podcast.
Yeah. And look, I'm down to like the last little thing before it hits the red. So I get 9 miles per gallon on this
Yeah.
on average.
9?
Yeah.
No way you get worse than a C63, dude.
Check this out. Look, and we've been driving conservatively. on this. This is consumption 11.6.
Oh, damn, and that's driving the
And
way
this
we were
is
driving.
We've been driving nothing above 50.
Yeah.
So I get 9. I've hit 6.
Dude, that's crazy.
So
The
I feel
AMG gets way better gas mileage. I'm usually hovering around 10. Oh my God.
aggressively, I can fill up gas 3 to 4 times a week.
How much do you realistically go? Or is that
These
like,
past 3 weeks,
Yeah.
I put in at least 5 times a week.
Damn, that's insane.
And that's about $70, $65 every fill.
You do have a smaller tank though, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed my AMG has almost a 20-gallon tank.
Oh no, this only fits I think 13 or 14.
Yeah, my AMG definitely has a big tank. I think all 3 of my cars do, because even the truck is like 20-something.
Yeah. But I mean, gas here, dude, is about $5 on
Yeah.
91.
Yeah.
I spend about $300 a week, $400 a week
Dude, that's insane.
times 4. It's like
That's like
$1,500,
Yeah.
$1,500 a month on gas.
1,000 like 13.
Yeah.
That's fucking insane. So that's gas, right? Your car payment, again, I feel like most people know their car payment more or less as they're going into this. Maintenance is a tough one, right? Because let me give you guys a story on like when I really realized that these like more expensive cars have like stupid maintenance. When I took your CLA 45,
Yeah.
I took that car when it had 37,000 miles on the odometer. Now, I drove the shit out of that car. I owned it for a year. By the end of it, it was like around 70,000, I think slightly more. But I did all the big maintenance hits on that car. The 45,000 was a big one. The 60,000 was a big one. And then the fucking shitty part, I literally got my maintenance right before I sold it.
Yeah.
At 70,000.
Yeah.
And it sucked, but I think the 60,000 mile one, that one was like 3 Gs. They were flushing basically every fluid.
Yeah.
I know I had one thing that wasn't covered under the warranty. And that's why I think that was 1,000 on its own. So it was like 2,000 and then like an extra 1,000. And that was done at a Mercedes dealership. I always did all my maintenance at a Mercedes dealership. And yes, they do have significantly higher like, rates. But for anyone that's gone to like, high performance shops, Mercedes gives you really, really good service.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's worth the payment that you're making. Well, how's maintenance been on this car?
I mean, I just got my first maintenance check. So I bought the car at 6,000 miles. I'm about to hit 18,000 miles.
Yeah.
I put about 12,000 miles on it. I bought tires, which I think is another thing that goes off quick.
How much are the tires?
I think tires when it was installed was about $2,000.
It's not too bad.
No, I spent like 2,500 on tires.
Oh, that's good.
Another, I think 500. No, so it was like $3,000. So $3,000 on tires. I'm about to do the maintenance. We'll see kind of what that comes down to. We had this talk before.
Yeah.
But like, if I go take this over there and they're like, yo, you need new brake pads and new rotors,
Yeah.
I'll probably just get rid of the car. Because realistically, I don't plan on keeping this car that much further anyways, especially
Yeah.
with the mileage I'm at. I'm kind of at the sweet spot where, again, going back to like, can you afford the car? Your car is almost half the price of this.
Yeah.
But in the run that we've had it, you've actually lost a lot more money than I have.
Well, I mean, I don't think you've lost that much.
Yeah, I've generally just paid to drive it.
Yeah.
And all I did was put $10,000 down, which is basically the taxes and registration.
Yeah. Isn't that fucking insane?
Right? So like that's the other part of like owning cars and like being able to afford them is like understanding the depreciation on some of these cars.
Yeah.
Because like Porsche does a really good job of being able to maintain its value.
Well, I know the 911 came out as the least depreciating car on the
Yeah.
market.
Yeah.
And that's like another thing, right? I probably won't get rid of my C63 anytime soon, but I probably won't get any car until I can afford the McLaren or the 6-figure car. 6-figure exotic, to be specific, either Porsche or an exotic, because again, I think at the end of the day, when you start losing 30, 40 grand on a car, I don't give a fuck how much money you're making. It just feels dumb.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'd ever, unless I'm just shitting money or it's for business purposes, I don't think I'd ever buy another $70,000 to $100,000 car.
Yeah.
Like maybe a CLA 45 in the 50, 60 range.
Yeah.
But at least there, the most I'm going to lose is 10, 15, maybe 20.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's maxed out. But it doesn't seem smart anymore to buy cars in that price range, considering how much they depreciate.
Yeah.
And let me just say this, right? I think the amount that we drive has a large reason for why it depreciates so much.
Yeah.
Because the miles on the car, obviously, they correlate to how much the car is worth. But again, it's like what the fuck am I buying this car for if I'm not going to drive it? I mean, for future references, what car do you want to get in the future that you know doesn't depreciate as much?
Porsches.
Porsches?
I mean,
I know
I'd want to get, so like my next one I think for sure is the McLaren 600 LT. I really want that. But right after that, I'd get right back into a Porsche.
I know the 600 LT, you sent me the page showing the price.
It's the one car, because it was such a limited release.
Yeah.
It's the one McLaren that is keeping its value pretty damn well.
Yeah.
And there's just not that many in the market. I mean, if you search it across the nation, there's only like 2 or 3 for sale.
Yeah. That's insane. I know for sure it's crazy because before I got my C63, I was contemplating like a GTR or a GT63.
Yeah.
And thank God I didn't go for those cars. Because
Yeah,
the depreciation would probably be worse, than what I am in right now. So it's kind of like, damn, dude, like, now I'm just looking at those 6-figure cars, man. I can see how so many people, quote unquote, drive these cars for free.
Yeah.
Because it's like, dude, as long as you're not putting absurd miles on them, you can get them, drive them, own them for a year, and either land even or pay very minimal.
Yep.
You know, and like that, I mean, that's the fucking goal with owning these cars, is just knowing you're not gonna lose that much money on them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
In comparison to a fucking C63.
Yeah.
I lost more than a Honda Civic. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling.
What about on insurance? What are you paying for insurance on your C63?
So I will say, for people who are younger, again, you guys kind of have to focus on your insurance rates, because on our first car, we were paying almost a car payment in insurance.
Yeah.
It was crazy, and it was strictly because we were young and it was a 2-door sports car.
Yeah.
I currently pay, I think, $700 on full coverage for my C63, the GLC, and my Tacoma, which isn't great coverage, but it isn't great pricing, by the way.
Yeah.
But that's just due to the fact that I do have a point on my record. So, I mean,
Which is not terrible then.
kind of, yeah, it's not terrible, but again, it's not great. I think you have a better rate on this Porsche. How much do you
so
pay?
for the GT4, I pay about $200 a month.
Yeah, which is nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Dude, for a $130,000 car, that's insane.
I pay, I think, like $60 a month for the Mazda. That's a brand new car.
Yeah. So 260
and then I have my dad's car on my insurance, and I think I pay like $30 a month. Something like that.
That's insane.
Like, it's crazy. So like the Porsche, right? So I pay $2,200 a month on my car loan.
Yeah.
I pay $200 on insurance. I'm at $2,400. Gas, I spend like $1,500. So what does that put me at?
So that's crazy though. Most people, when they're doing their math on if they can afford a car, they never enter gas into the equation.
Yeah. So my $2,400, my bad, with the car loan and insurance, and with gas, I'm at about $4,000 a month.
Yeah. That's insane.
For just the GT4. And then I have the Mazda that I think my payment's $600 a month. My insurance is $50. I don't really drive that car, so I don't spend a ton of gas. I maybe fill up twice a month, if that, once a month.
Yeah.
So like all in on those 2 cars, I'm spending what, a little under $6,000 a month? Or like a little over $5,000? No, a little over $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
$5,000. That's crazy.
On cars.
On cars.
This goes to the financial irresponsibility of car enthusiasts though. Because I think mine's $1,300, $800, that's 21, plus 7, 28, plus gas, probably like $4,000 a month.
Yeah.
On my cars. That's fucking crazy. But we'll kind of cut it off there. If you guys enjoyed any of the podcasts, make sure to drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.